My Lord. Who's that?
Lamb of God last night.
Oh, Lamb of God. Okay, there you go.
They've taken over for the Pantera-E's, a little bit on the riffs and the stuff. And
we played, I taught a bunch of Lamb of God there, and that's what I thought they were, the new Pantera. That guy plays weird. The one guy picks. He holds his pick. Like, that kind of thing. It's weird instead of like everybody. Anyway, he's got a weird picking style, the one dude in that band.
Really?
Are they religious? Lamb of God, are they very religious?
I feel like that's a no.
Okay.
I feel like that's a no.
Okay. But, so they're not writing about God.
Lambs, maybe at God's, maybe lambs at his house. Yeah.
Who were sacrificed. Sacrifice them to our God. That's what.
Hello, everybody. It's a preview show. It's a preview show, right? Is that what we're calling this thing? It's the Kids on the Escalator preview show.
Tuesday night.
This thing.
And here we are.
This Kids on the Escalator season 2 that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just hanging out. We're doing some preview shows before we really dive into it in October.
Where are you? I'm in Kingston still because I don't move much and I like it that way. Where are you?
I am in St. Louis, Missouri.
Right. Home of the Blues.
Home of the Blues. Yeah, home of the Blues. And Kim Sutherland, hi. Always there. Kim, hi, friend. Good to see you.
Hi, Kim.
We are, I'm home of the Blues, hanging out here, just kind of chilling out. Day off. Where did we come from? See, I've already forgotten where we played last night.
Were you in Cincinnati? Because I thought you
Cincinnati, WKRP. We were there last night, hanging out. And let me tell you about how weird it is down here.
I always post WKRP things on my Facebook. Most people are arguing and stuff, and I'm posting WKRP stuff because that's just how I roll.
WKRP. Let me move. I had a nice backdrop going there. Yeah.
Of WKRP?
No, just of Seattle.
Seattle.
St. Louis. There it is. There's the arch.
St. Louis.
The arch is right behind
SLC
me.
Punk. That's a great movie. I think that's in St. Louis.
It's right behind me. It's like over there. Anyways.
Right.
Hello, everybody. It's been a interesting week and a bit since we chatted last. There is a new government, new prime minister. Oh, wait.
It's the same thing. We're just moving on. It's like nothing even happened. It's just like, okay, so carry on.
$600 million later.
Carry on.
Or whatever that costs for the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty lame. But
I've seen better arguments and battles between who was better, Spider-Man or Batman, than that one, man. That was a pretty lame election, man.
I gotta hand it to our election system, though, from the standpoint of like, hey, we're gonna have an election in 4 days, in a couple weeks. We're gonna have an election in a couple weeks. We're gonna throw $600 million at it, and then you can decide. It like America drags on for 4 years, consistently.
That was pretty cool that it was over with, because generally I like to stay offline any kind of social media for a long time if there's an election coming up.
Yeah.
But that was good. It was over and done with, so that's great. So we can move on, which is great. So now we can go back to the real question: who is better, Spider-Man or Batman?
Oh,
there's Lonnie. Hi, Lonnie.
That's the question that goes with everything now. I mean, I guess I'm still always a fan. You know where I lie on this argument. I'm still always a fan of the natural athlete superhero.
Well, I think Batman could take Spider-Man if we were to really take it in that world. I think because Batman could probably beat anybody. That's just how Batman is.
Well, there's nothing that doesn't like Spider-Man can be killed, right?
Spider-Man can be killed.
He can be killed, can he? He was bit by a spider. He can shoot a web and shit, but someone could just rip him apart, you know?
Yes, but Spider-Man can die. Yes, he can. Yes,
you know?
Spider-Man can die.
So that's the thing. I guess you've got two kind of normal people fighting each other. I got to go with Batman and all the money he's got.
Batman wins because Batman will find a way. I'm just downloading. I'm waiting for Dying Light 2 to come out, the video game for my PS4. Dying Light 1 is amazing. I played it so many times, but Dying Light 2 is now being delayed to December, video game fans. So I know. And Dying Light, if you play video games, you are aware of Dying Light. Such a great game. So Dying Light 2 is going to come up. But I downloaded a classic Batman game. It was on for $4, dude. So Batman has a cooler costume than Spider-Man. That is true. And he's got a cape, right? Right, Kim? So I downloaded this Batman game. It's a free roaming one. I'm blank. It's not Batman. It's not Arkham Asylum. I think it's Batman Arkham City, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah,
so
I've got that one.
Do you have that one?
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance. Like, I didn't download it. I've got it for the Xbox.
Oh, okay. Right on.
So, yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's a really good it's a really cool game. I mean, that Arkham Asylum was awesome when it
Yes,
came
I
out.
like
It
that
was
game a
like
lot.
what a cool concept. And I'm not a first person shooter guy, but just because I'm like I can't, I got to go third person. But maybe I'm just old. That's why. But and you play them. But
I'm a video gamer, dude. Yeah, I just don't like really hard games that make me want to throw the controller. But
right.
oh, I'm a gamer, dude. I need a new game. I've just been playing NHL 2019, I think is the one I have, or 2020. No, 2020. I have the yeah. Anyway, I've been just playing all that. Hockey. It's like I play a video game pretty much every night before I go to bed, or if I need a break from drawing, I go down and I'll play a video game. Kind of gets my mind cleared from that, and then I come up and continue on with my gigs that I'm drawing.
Yeah.
But so I've switched over. So I'm starting Batman after tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be cool. My hockey's. I got to give the hockey a break.
I was I've got NHL going on mine at home, and I got a season going. I wish you could play box from. Like, I wish I could not bring. I wish I could play it online somehow. That would still tie in, and I could play some of these guys on this tour. A lot of cool stuff that they travel with. Matt, the singer from Trivium, who I'm hoping to have on this show soon. Great guy, great gamer, huge Twitcher, and does a lot of time on there. And he, that guy is, travels with a really great remote system. When he's not on stage, he's Call of Duty all day.
Oh wow!
And he's got just the fans are following him and doing all that, and really, really kind of like he's the first musician. And this is funny because we've only been shut down for 19 months, but in that time, I mean, this guy, I see him. He's literally online. He's either streaming rehearsal, streaming the sound check, streaming them just walking around, whatever it is. He's the first one that I've seen sort of in this level where the guy is just consistently online driving those fans, and it was really cool to see. So he's a massive gamer too, and he's a first-person shooter guy, and he's always, yeah. So it's a big thing. I wish I could play them out here on the road a little bit more, but I got to bring something extra with me, and I just like to travel light.
I also have.
I got to travel light.
Yeah. In my office, I just see Kim's talking about the Atari games. I have all those. Like I've got the Atari Woody, I've got the Atari. That's the one with the wood top. I have the Atari Darth Vader, which is all black, and I have I have like all the Nintendos except for the GameCube and the new like Twitch. But I have a Nintendo, and it's one of those emulators, and it's got like 700 games in it, and I just got it plugged into a monitor in my office there, and it's so friggin' rad, and it's got all the classic games. I'm a Galaga. I just love taking a break too and playing some Galaga.
Yar's Revenge
is a great Atari game, and that's funny because I found if I was in my office a comic book that came with the Yar's Revenge cartridge.
I remember that.
So cool.
Yeah.
The funny thing about the Atari games is you had these extravagant covers that the artwork was fantastic, and then you play the game, it's like, hey.
But you know what's funny? You got there's a big Yar's Revenge video game. I don't know when you went to the movies last. I think you went and saw Free Guy, right?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, okay. So there's like in the movie theater they got all the video games, and they have like Space Invaders, but they have it's a giant wall where you play like Pac-Man or Space Invaders or Yar's Revenge. And
that's awesome.
It's the coolest thing, and no one can get anyone off Yar's Revenge. They just consistently.
Yeah, I can see that.
Did you ever play? I mean, we all loved Contra. Did you like Contra?
No, I wasn't a big Contra fan.
Because that game they've just reinvented again, which I think
side scroller, right? Like you're the ship on the side.
No, Yar's Revenge was the two soldiers.
No, Contra.
Contra, that's what I'm saying. Sorry,
Yeah,
Contra
is it side scroller?
Well, yeah, you got your two soldiers, and you run to the left or run to the right, and you can't go back, and then you can go up, and you can go to the side, and then they've recreated it a few times, and I guess they're recreating it again, and it's supposed to be badass. So, speaking of video games, check this out. Here's something for you kiddos at home. So, the AEW. Is doing all the things that WWE is not doing. It seems. So basically, it's like I almost feel like Tony Khan's got like a checklist, and he's like, "What are all the things that Vince McMahon won't give the fans or hasn't done over the last, whatever?" And one of those things properly is giving, Owen Hart his due, or at least I know there's a lot of controversy around that, and I know that his wife is holding it up because rightfully so. I mean, she's like, I don't want anything to do with WWE anymore.
That
But
says a lot that if she's willing to do this with the AEW, because she's
right,
awesome, right?
so they're doing like an Owen Hart tournament, which is really cool. They're doing like an Owen Hart tournament for, like, basically you win a Owen Hart trophy, kind of like WWE does with the Andre the Giant Memorial thing. They do the Andre at WrestleMania, so that's kind of cool. And then they're gonna put him in the video game. They're putting him in the AEW video game, which is
that's
supposed
amazing.
which is supposed to be really great. Like, I mean,
That's
that game,
really cool.
Everyone's raving about the game and how good it's gonna be. So, yeah, very
That's
cool.
cool. Sorry, my phone's just going on fire here for 1 second.
That's all right.
Okay, there we go. You know what? Here, I saw that Owen Hart had something going on with AEW, and that's fantastic. That's really good. And so now they'll probably have him and his brother in the AEW game now, or I bet you.
Well, Brett was the one. Brett was the one that introduced the AEW World Title.
Oh,
when
right.
When they brought that out, people forget Brett was the one that actually brought that out. But
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, it certainly seems. I mean, and I'm going to work a little hard on seeing if we can get him for this show, because I don't ever lean on my friend relationships in that regard for stuff per se. But I definitely would love to talk to him and just get his take. I mean, I think Brett's actually stopped doing a lot of podcasts because he just gets misquoted and shit. And then it's just after he does a podcast, it's like the wrestling world melts down for a couple of days, right? He went after Seth Rollins for injuring Sting. He went after, whatever. And I think
Tell him to come on and we won't talk about wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We'll just won't, because he's a big comic guy. We just won't talk wrestling. But I do want to get his take on that. So maybe we can get him somewhere in the beginning of season 2 here somewhere. So I might try to reach out there and say, hello. So what do you think there?
That'd be decent. I'd like that.
That'd be all right. So anyways, that's very cool. I actually, so I was reaching out to Mike. I think I was going to get Mike to weigh in a little bit on some wrestling stuff, but I don't know if he's going to be able to join us today. He was kind of tied up in the studio doing some stuff, so we'll leave it for now. Maybe tie some wrestling stuff at the end. But what have you been doing? What have you been doing?
Watching lots of horror movies. It's been great. I love watching horror movies. So I'm working. What am I working on? I'm working on issue 5 of Skeletron, which is going great. Issue 2 still available. Some issues of that. So issue 3 will be popping out soon, but I'm working on, I got a commission I'm working on. It's a fairly large one. So that's been keeping most of my drawing going on, but I'm watching horror movies and stuff and I love it. I'm like the expert of the movie The Shining. There's so many, subtle little things in that movie, man. Like there's one scene where the wife, Wendy, is confronting Jack and he's at his typewriter and they're talking about something. If you look behind Jack, there is a table there, and then it goes to Wendy, goes back to Jack, and then the table's gone, and then you come back to the scene again and the table's there, and this is all in like a few seconds, right? And if you know anything about Stanley Kubrick, everything in that shot is supposed to be in that shot. There's nothing put in there by accident. That's why he's such a genius and why that movie is so amazing. So that's just one of the things that was so amazing out of that movie. I could do I want to do like a breakdown of the whole the whole movie, like for a seminar for the film festival here or something, when the elevators open and all the blood comes gushing out in the bottom left, watch for it. There's a body there. Watch for it. It's there.
Who's the body?
I don't know, man. You tell me. That's the thing. Like, I don't know. There's lots of theories. Another one, keep your eye open for all those little bears. And we know what happens what that costume bear is doing to that guy at the very end. He's going down on him, right? And he gets up and it's a costume bear. Yeah. If you watch through that movie, there are bears put in there at precise moments. It's so cool. And it just goes all through and it puts another spin on possibly what's going on behind the scenes and possibly in Jack's mind. And it's just, I could break down that movie in so many little, like starting from the beginning, like, okay, pause here. And then there's the guy they bring in. Hey, this is Bill. When Jack goes in for his first interview for the building there, right?
Yeah.
The guy says, hey, so I'm blah, 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 and I run the show, here's Bill. Who the hell is Bill? They never say who Bill is. And he follows them around through their the whole thing. Yeah, Bill will do this. Bill will tell you this. Here's Bill, and Bill's just kind of looking at him like, "Hi, I'm Bill." But you got to watch Bill's demeanor. And there's another thing that I discovered. They don't, and this is from researching other. I didn't come up with all these. Some of them I've noticed, and some of them I've seen from other viewers who I watch and who I talk to. And that Bill one's great. Yeah, Lonnie knows real creepy stuff hidden in The Shining. There's so much though, dude. There's so much more I could go over with The Shining. The mirrors. Oh my God, like the mirrors. Watch the movie and pay attention to the mirrors. It's amazing how many things you can see in there. So The Shining is like, and the funny thing about The Shining is it's my go-to feel-good movie or creative movie. You know what I mean? Like I love having The Shining on and doing some artwork. That's like, that's when I'm really in the zone. I'll put The Shining on.
Kubrick just announced that, or there was something that just came out about Kubrick.
Hey, it's Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Oh,
all right,
hey.
buddy. It just Kubrick just came out with a thing about, or there was a release about him.
Well, he's dead now.
I know, but there was something has surfaced about him, and the moon landing and all that shit.
Oh yeah, well, and the whole thing in The Shining with the shirt, like it's The Shining is my favorite movie of all time. To me, it's genius.
Yeah.
It's just and if you talk to somebody and get a theory and watch the movie with that theory in your noggin, you're like, whoa, that's what it's about. And then you hear another theory, but you watch the movie again and have that theory in your mind. You're like, oh no, that's what it's about. But it's all these different things, and it's fantastic. Brilliant, brilliant movie. So I've been watching horror movies, The Shining, and just being inspired because I'm at this part in the story where it's got to be really scary and evil, and I'm trying to come up with something different. I even watched that movie, The Leprechaun, with Jennifer Aniston. She was in there. I got up one morning and said, I'll put that on. That was actually really funny, man. That is a funny movie. That is a very funny movie. But I didn't get any inspiration for my story with it.
Whenever I hear Leprechaun, all I think of is Mike Myers on Saturday Night Live. I think it was where he used to, and the Leprechaun, and the Leprechaun. Yeah.
Well, Mike's here. Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Sorry, guys.
We were talking wrestling, but since you're here dropping SNL bombs, we've got to go here then. So we got to go with the loss of Norm Macdonald. We're just kind of this is like the season 2 preview show. We're just kind of messing around with some stuff that we might want to talk about this season and a couple other things. But of course, there's the news of the week and last couple of weeks. So yeah, the passing of Norm Macdonald, which totally sucks.
It's not as much the shame, but the anal rape.
Oh,
don't you remember that scene? It's like the best scene ever. He's standing there in jail and he's just disgusting.
Is this dirty work that you're talking about?
He's holding his pants up. He's in jail. And he's like, disgusting. It's not as much the trust, but the anal rape. His delivery's great, right? It seemed like attorneys standing there going,
people, and I think the thing that, like anything, when someone passes, all the shit you have never seen before surfaces.
Yeah.
So him he was a consistent guest on Conan, so there's like all that awkward shit that he would, some of those guests go on those late night shows and they kind of make it their own. Like, Don Rickles used to go on, all the time and just make things uncomfortable, or someone would go on Letterman and just be a certain way. And now Will Ferrell's that guy. When Will Ferrell goes on, it's just anarchy. And even John Cena, like when he goes on, it's kind of a different thing. But Norm would go on Conan's show and it would just be like, he would tell this super dry joke and the crowd is trying to laugh, but they don't know if it's funny, but it's just Norm.
Yeah. Just like when I said it, when I repeated it, he was like, yeah, I know.
But it's his delivery. And Norm's delivery, it's funny. Somebody, a voice friend of mine, we talk about impressions, and some people do Norm impressions, and I know, who was it? It wasn't Sandler that did it, but they played somebody doing an impression of Norm. If you notice, Norm falls in the range of like a Christian Slater kind of slowed down and not quite as low as Jay Baruchel. But
Right.
it's that same and you talk like this, and it's the moth. Yeah. But anyway, I love Norm. Going down the rabbit hole on YouTube has been such a joy and a treat to see some of the appearances he's had on late night. And even, playing back some of the SNL Weekend Update stuff, when he used to like skewer the OJ trial stuff, man, that was just brilliant.
Well, the best part about that too was that the guy, like the executive at SNL at the time,
Don Ohlmeyer.
was a huge friend. Was a friend of OJ's. So
Yeah.
he kept saying, "You can't talk about OJ anymore." And so then there's that whole clip of Norm being like, he would deliver the news and then do a one-liner about OJ at the end. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, when you kill your wife and you get away with it, right? And then they would do, and it was just, and eventually he was fired. And I remember it happened so suddenly. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
Where
This
is he?
just in, OJ is still guilty.
That's
Yeah, just random stuff. But speaking of obscure, weird Norm Macdonald appearances, and this is one that my wife Carolyn pointed out, that we might need to ask Todd Kearns about, because Norm shows up in an Age of Electric video. And it's a clip of Norm, but there's this crazy backstory behind it, that it was a movie that Norm did in college that was like some sort of an adult type themed film.
It's at the very, very beginning of Remote Control, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
and people forgot he was Canadian too.
Yeah.
A lot of people
course,
forget
they
that
always
he's Canadian. You know what I mean? So it's he never got his due. I did a show for him years ago, and I was talking about it with my friend Aaron Chapman, who was at the show. Really, here's like, most comedians. I don't know if you guys know any, but most comedians generally live a relatively quiet, life. Like where and there's a certain amount of like. What do they get? There's a certain amount of turmoil that goes on with them. Like they're alone. They're searching. They're searching for laughs all the time.
Tortured artists.
And they're constantly going, like they're alone, and they're doing this and that. So I'll give you a thing. So the other day I was in New York City. I think we talked about this last week. I was in New York City on September 11th. So really heavy day. Spent the day kind of just taking it in. I even went to Staten Island for coffee just because I was like, I wanted to get a look at what that looked like. And so my buddy Craig Gass was in town, and we were playing, and he played at the comic strip, and you see all the comedians on the wall, and he was, and he played a show there, and then another show, and another show. He played like 4 shows that night, and they just bang around town. They just go around town. But and then New York, you can do that, but in Vancouver, you do the show, and then that's it. You don't really do any more shows. You just do that one show that you do, and then there's not really a late night place that you can go. And I remember being downstairs, and so Norm has got a joke about Hitler's dog. And the joke is that, and I won't tell it, the punchline basically is that Hitler's dog is the only thing on the world that's excited to see him come home from work.
Right.
Right? So picture, I don't know if you could do like if you can do a Norm, Mike, but it would be basically like the dog comes home and the dog comes running up, and like someone would meet their dog, right? And so Norm delivers it like Norm does, like, oh, there's my dog.
My dog. He's coming. Look at him coming over. Look at him just running. He's running up over.
And the dog's so excited to see him.
So excited, yeah.
Yeah, so excited to see him. And so that was like a whole bit. And like he's literally like downstairs, and he looks at me and he looks at Aaron Chapman and he goes, What'd you think of that Hitler's dog joke? Deliver that line, Mike. You seem to do a good one.
So Brent, what'd you think of the Hitler's dog joke?
That's right. And I was like,
it was pretty funny, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
He goes, yeah, that one. No, he actually went the other way. He's like, that one splits the room. He was doing that, and then he's like, so what are you doing now? Let's go for sushi. And I was like, I don't like sushi, but let's go. Like, fuck, it's normal. And when you get that opportunity, and Aaron Chapman, my buddy who is a local historian in Vancouver, came along, and it was just this weird, like, he's alone in a town, and he's like, he loves just hanging out with people, and that's what a lot of comedians do. But it also speaks to what kind of guy this guy was.
Yeah, and I'm so thrilled that we got to see him when he played the Falls View Casino a couple of years ago, and it was everything you expected it to be. Like, again, growing up on SNL, I loved Norm Macdonald, and when you finally go see their stand-up, and you've got expectations, and Norm totally delivered and killed. And it's the way he told his story. The best one is the moth joke that
he just told it on Conan.
Yeah,
and the audience is trying to figure out if they're supposed to laugh or not.
but you can see it's the interplay between him and Conan. Like, it's almost like you can see Norm's mind going through, like, he knows the joke, he's making it seem like he's he's pulling things out like the names, and then and Conan's just going along, and he knows where this is going to wind up, and then he hits the punchline, and it's just like it's brilliant. It's brilliant. So
That's and that's a style. Chris, who's your favorite stand-up comedian?
Oh man, I always
Or what's
like
your
Mitch
style?
Hedberg.
Well, yeah,
I like Mitch
so
Hedberg, man. I like Mitch Hedberg. Was
Okay,
great.
so Craig was Mitch's roommate,
well,
and
no
that's
way.
and
Craig
he's got
Gass.
yeah.
He was on one of my favorite shows of all time. I love watching it in the morning. Still do. Watch
Sex
it
in the
today.
City.
Nope. No. King of Queens.
Yeah.
And I would love to know, because there's such rumors about Kevin James, like you can't even look him in the eye, like and talk to him. I just wonder if he had like a douchebag story about Kevin James.
So the randomness of Craig Gass. Let me tell you something. So
he's been on everything. It's pretty wild.
So Craig,
he was really funny on there too.
So a couple things. So we've known each. We ran into. This is funny. So you've all got those random people that you probably run into. Okay, so Adam was that for me, and then Mike and I just we just had our 10th anniversary. Happy anniversary, buddy. So I ran into Mike, ran into Adam, and then it was like this random kind of thing. Craig, I was working a New Kids on the Block show, and Craig was there. Okay, and I've got a whole bunch of stories about that show just on its own, but let alone Craig was there, and he's like, "Hey, do you know how I can come up to Canada and do some shows?" And I was like, "Sure." I said, "I can book him for you. I'll do him." So I ended up forming a relationship with him. He came, he stayed at the house. We've literally been texting today, talking about the CDs that he still has in my house, and we're trying to get them to him in Minneapolis, and we're trying to figure out how to. He's on the road all the time. Now, a couple of things. We randomly run into each other. So he was backstage at New York on Cornelius and Chains. He happened to be in Seattle when I was doing a show there the other day. He was in New York on September 11th. We just happened to be in these random kind of towns. And he's like, just constantly moving around doing shows. He's back on Howard Stern. He just landed the Howard Stern show again, and which was great. And he's a really great, friendly dude. And he tells a great Kevin James story, Chris, like about being on that show and everything. And plus, he was on with Ben Stiller, Jerry Stiller, right, and Ben Stiller's dad and everything. He's a really good guy. He's a fan. He's a friend of the Blundell Network. He's a friend of Dean's and stuff. So
you got to get him on the show.
I think we're going to try to get him on season 2 here for sure, and we'll ask him all those shows. But he's that random dude that It's like, where am I? I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Craig's getting a sandwich. Oh, hey, Craig. Like, it's just how that kind of goes.
There you are. I was wondering when I ran
Craig? It's bizarre.
But that awesome style, anyways, Chris, the reason I was asking about this style, so Mitch Hedberg has that kind of delivery, same like kind of Stephen Wright.
Yes.
And I guess the question is, like, is that the kind of delivery that you like as a comedian? Are you old school Carlin style? Because Norm kind of pulls, dare I say Cosby, but Cosby will tell a 20-minute joke and then drop the punchline.
Right.
And a lot of guys love that delivery. And I think Norm was kind of in that world a bit. Chris, are you in that world, or what kind of comedian?
If it's funny, I like it. You know what I mean? I'm not really picky when it comes to comedy. I'd say I'm probably more picky when it comes to horror movies than I am, and Marvel movies than I am to comedy guys. It's funny. Well, mentioning Saturday Night Live, again, working on a project and just wanting to watch something. So live TV, my wife threw on Saturday Night Live because the Foo Fighters are going to be on. There was a repeat program, I believe, right? And Dave Chappelle was hosting. And we were in tears laughing at it. Man, it was funny. It was so funny. Dave Chappelle was writing a lot of it, I think, and the stuff he was in. But man, it was some good stuff on there. I was impressed. I didn't know if it was funny anymore. I probably haven't watched Saturday Night Live in over 5 years, And of course, the Foo Fighters were really good on there as well. But I thought it was great. I thought everybody else was hilarious, man. Really funny.
Yeah, Chappelle's another one of those great stand-ups, which I go back when I was a kid. One of the first comedy albums that I ever had was George Carlin's "A Place for My Stuff."
Yeah, me too, man. That was brilliant, huh?
And I mean, I think that corrupted me, and then again going down the George Carlin, sort of rabbit hole as years went on. Norm's delivery, to what you're saying, Brent. Yeah, the storytelling. But I think with Norm though, it's the awkwardness of the storytelling that makes it funny, because you almost get a sense that he's literally doing an aristocrats joke every time, where he's making it wilder and wilder and wilder, because the punchline is sometimes just pedestrian, but it's the lead up to the punchline that makes the punchline funnier. And I will say, for Norm, did you guys ever catch his Netflix show?
Yeah, it was
that
great.
He had on. Brilliant. And again, we talk about Norm being Canadian. I always loved the tribute at the end of those episodes where he would sing the Wayne and Schuster song that they used to sing out of their shows. So yeah, that was a sucky one to find out about. And I mean, kudos to him for, I mean, if you want to call it kudos, for not mentioning his cancer diagnosis all these years, like almost 10 years. And
because there would be like the Norm Macdonald farewell tour and everyone would do this and get emotional and blah blah blah, and it was almost like no one knew. It was almost like Conan didn't know, or Kimmel, no one knew,
and I think going back, and I would hear him on Stern a lot, and yeah, you go back and you listen to some of that now and you're like, man, how did you do it? And I don't know if that's a tortured comic thing or just he realized, it's you want to be funny. You don't want to be sort of almost like eulogized while still alive type thing, and sort of that uncomfortable.
I just texted Craig. Craig's at Guns N' Roses in Minneapolis. So he's like another down the road. So we'll get him. We'll get him for season 2, and we'll have lots to talk about when it comes to that. Hey, so Mike, before we were getting in there, I don't know what kind of time you have. We're just kind of banging out a quick episode here, but there's been some wrestling news a little bit.
And you guys talked a little bit about it.
Holy AEW, man! Wow, jeez Louise.
So we were talking about the Owen thing a little bit and how,
which is awesome.
My thing, I feel like it's like my only point to that is it just feels like Tony's got a list of all the things that WWF has fucked up, and he's just scratching them off and trying to make it right. So he's like Owen, like I understand the Owen Hart. There's legalese going on there with his wife and stuff like that, but it's really nice to kind of see that plus all the shit that's going on.
Well, as far as the Owen Hart stuff goes, I think it's amazing. The dude was phenomenal. I mean, anybody that's ever followed the sport and followed the Hart family and followed Owen's life. Yeah, I mean, the guy was aces. And I mean, Adam still, he tells amazing stories about, his time, working against Owen. And he was in the tag match, the last tag match against Owen and Jeff Jarrett, before he passed. And I think it's amazing. I know a lot of people are looking at Tony Khan and saying, it's the constant sort of like F you to Vince McMahon. And let's be honest, Martha Hart was never going to do anything with the WWE with regards to Owen. Yeah. That was never going to happen. I don't, as much as everybody would have loved to have seen him enshrined in the Hall of Fame, that was never going to happen for obvious reasons. And I say kudos to Mark Henry for, I think he was the beginning of the bridge building between Martha and Tony Khan and AEW for this, because I mean, he said in his speech, he really wanted to see Owen, recognized and not forgotten, and so many people loved him and loved what he did. This is amazing, and it just. Part of it, that it's 95% it's all good intentions, but I'm sure there's a small percentage where it's like, you know what, I'm just going to shove it down your throat, Vince. You messed up the business.
We're going to fix it. You know what is? Tony Khan is the Jon Favreau of the wrestling business.
Wow. Yeah, it's a fun.
But he's a fan. It would be like you and me. It'd be like us starting a wrestling company and going, all right, what are all the things? What do you think, Chris, on that side?
Well, I think it's funny that we started our show kind of around when AEW just started too, and we were talking about how, man, watch this company, watch these guys go, man, they're going to be amazing. And we started. It was like Jericho was the champion at this time when we were first starting to talk about it, and COVID was hit, so there were the matches. There was nobody at these matches that they kept it going, and they kept bringing in other wrestlers too, which slowly gained more respect from me and the matches they had. But I also like the way they were giving the jobbers. I don't know if they call them jobbers anymore, but the newer wrestlers,
enhancement talent is
the enhancement talent. I like the way that they were treating them too. They were getting some good matches in there.
Barry Horowitz,
Barry Horowitz, man. But it was funny though, because we called it on here that AEW was going to be huge. Yeah. I remember thinking Sting's coming. It was like, is he coming? It's like, yeah, there he is. And Sting came there. I heard that Mark Henry is just leaving now, or just left, like today.
No, he's just. I think he's off. I think he's off the commentary.
Yeah, he's off the commentary, and I forget
Ricky
the guy's
Starks.
name. Yeah, Ricky Starks.
Ricky
Filling in
Starks
for him.
is-
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
it.
they're doing great things. I will say that, and I had this sort of mini discussion with Jimmy Corderas about
referee.
AEW. Former sports entertainment referee Jimmy Corderas.
We got to get him on this.
What a great dude.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the whole AEW and what they're doing, and I said, well, and the fact that WWE seems to have been crapping the bed in certain areas of the business, and I said, well, I equate it to the broadcasting business. When I was in radio, and I'm sure most of the former radio folk on the Dean Blundell network will remember hearing things like your P1s. You always want to appease and appeal to your P1s because they're your core. Those are your hardcore audience members, listeners, who are there for you through thick and thin. They're the ones that are going to go out and sing your praises and bring in potentially new people. They're the ones that'll stand around the water cooler and talk you up when times are good and when times are bad. The problem with the WWE is that their P1s, or their core audience, are wrestling fans. And what does Vince McMahon not want?
Wrestling fans.
Wrestling fans. So what you're doing is you're essentially trying to change your business model and change, it's a wholesale change. So what Tony Khan did is he realized we're in the business of professional wrestling, and the P1s, your core audience, the same ones that were hardcore NWO fans in the 90s, are now in their 40s with kids. WWE is not appealing to them. It's the same as soft rock radio stations still trying to appease the 60 and 70-year-olds and wondering why they're not getting any younger. Well, because the soccer moms, they don't want to listen to a lot of the soft pap. They want to feel hip too. So you program to those core audiences, and then you will bring the young, and you were going to start getting a buzz, which is what AEW has done. They've got the hardcore wrestling fans who are now in turn sort of spreading the word. You're getting celebrities making appearances now, which is an old WWE trick. And they're bringing in another, sort of a different audience. I think the comparison WWE right now is almost like the music industry was in the early 2000s, when Napster was coming on, when streaming was starting to take shape. The music industry didn't think that technology was going to be something that would not necessarily make them obsolete.
They just ignored it. They just
Well, they ignored it, and they didn't think it was going to be as big of a deal as it turned out to be. I think that's the same thing. And who knows? Maybe Vince McMahon, with NBC now and the potential of maybe Disney, buying, WWE at some point. I don't think it's about wrestling anymore. It's about entertainment.
We need a Dark Side of the Ring just on Vince McMahon. That's what's going to come next. Dark Side of the Ring, Vince McMahon edition, and we'll be like, oh my God.
I'm curious to see if Dark Side of the Ring is going to go past season 3.
We're going to add a little something here.
The Plane Ride from Hell episode has caused quite the ripples. Wow. And just wait till the Vince McMahon steroid trial episode at the end of the season. I think that's going to... Yeah. It's not been a good time for, the WWE. It's past sort of coming to light now. It's been a pretty rough.
Well, I want to go there. I want to go there now. I want to go there now, Mike, because there's been some news. So there, obviously, we know it was only a matter of time before the Me Too movement made itself to wrestling. And I don't believe that we are free and clear of that anymore. And unfortunately, the interesting part is I'm not sure why this story didn't get more play when ESPN did their 30 for 30 on Ric Flair. But for whatever reason, the Dark Side of the Ring brought this stuff out. And listen, we all know hockey player friends, baseball, like we all know people that are in a group setting with the boys club and all the rest of it. I mean, the culture has changed in the world now. But I mean, in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and all the rest of it, it was still fucking summer camp, and anarchy, and I'm sure I don't want to get too much into the minutia of it because we have connections to that world, so we'll just leave it more of a.
What's Ric Flair saying today? I just saw that he
made an opinion. He made a thing saying I've laid out every single thing that I've ever done on I gave ESPN full access to everything of my life. They spun it into a fucking whatever garbage piece because one of the things they didn't do though was talk about me being malicious. This is just summing up the quote was basically like I've never done anything without permission. I've never cornered a woman, blah, 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 blah. So then Tommy goes and makes the statement saying, it's going to be, it was sort of, his statement was a little bit aloof. I don't know why.
No, what did he say? I didn't hear what his statement. What did Tommy Dreamer say?
He had some comments in the show.
Watch the episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch the episode.
He had some comments in the show, and Impact basically suspended him. It's kind of an interesting one. And it wasn't even, did you feel, Mike, like he was justifying Rick, or was it just a statement about what was going on?
See, it's
tread lightly. Just walk.
See, now you got to tell me you got to say what he said. What did he say?
I'll bring it up. Hold on. You do your thing.
Oh, okay. The interview did not. It did not fare well for Tommy.
Oh.
And again, this whole Dark Side of the Ring episode, the plane ride from hell, for wrestling fans has been known and been told many, many, many years. Like there's for most that are sort of in the know, there was nothing new that came to light outside of the flight attendant talking about Ric Flair and what he I have to say allegedly because I wasn't there. So what allegedly did, and judging by how it has affected her and some of her comments, clearly there I would think has been something, and it was heartbreaking, and it brings back that whole, some of these people that you idolized growing up, and now you kind of see again the dark side. It's really kind of sad and depressing, and I'd like to hope and I'd like to think, and judging by some of the the people that I know that have sort of come up over the years. It's a different mindset. If it's a different breed.
It has to be nowadays.
Guys like Xavier Woods and Adam Cole and Kofi and Big E, like Cesaro. These guys that you watch their Da Party, their Up Down Down YouTube channel. It's the gaming, the Twitch streaming. Like it's so much fun. It's a different breed. And you would like to think that this next generation, this sort of new generation, is coming up in a better light and using their time and their influence and just being smarter about things.
The new generation does seem to be taking So some of it's they're cutting Seinfeld episodes, they're cutting Office episodes. Some of it's good. I'm saying some of that's kind of like
it's all coming on Netflix. I'm curious what they're going to keep on Netflix.
Yeah,
on that
interesting.
Side.
But
anyways, Chris, he said I won't get into the first part of it because it's a little graphic, but he basically said Ric Flair is being Ric Flair. He's not going to try to impose any sexual stuff on anybody. He's just flaunting, styling, and profiling. Everyone's going to laugh about it, but obviously somebody took offense, and he's like, if that's how she felt, maybe she should have not taken a payout and went to the full extent of the law and then put him in jail. So he basically saying she should, you can't take the payout and then come back and be like, oh, and he also did this. I just saw that Busted Open suspended him too. I just saw that. I didn't realize that too. So, but this is the trickle thing, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because I think there's more to come in this world. And this may be more of a season 2 dedicated episode chat, but stuff that we can talk about in season 2. But what industry hasn't been affected by this Me Too? And wrestling, for the most part, up until like even into the Me Too and during Me Too, everyone was just kind of like, ha 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 ha, Ric Flair, ha ha ha. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. But I'm sure there's a guy on every football team. Like Gronk, or I'm not saying he's that guy. I'm sure there's a guy on every football team or every hockey team that's like, let's fucking rock, woo, yeah. And,
let's moving on to another subject than sexual harassment.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I think that there's more to come on that. But to Mike's point, on the Dark Side of the Ring,
Yeah.
Does it come back for season 3? I don't know. It seems like
Or
it's must
season
watch
4.
now,
I
or
think
season
season
4.
4.
It's must
Yeah.
watch now. It seems.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of response they get when asking former superstars and wrestlers to be on the show.
Yeah.
And I'm being serious. I question how willing some of these participants will be, because of the almighty dollar does speak. And
I bet you Vince pays a bunch of people over the next little bit that says, "Oh, you're not doing well? Here you go."
Well, again, see, I want to see the Vince McMahon dark side of the ring, man. Because I'd like to go back to when Jimmy Snuka was getting in a lot of trouble.
There's a movie that's being made about Vince McMahon's life, and is it Bradley Cooper? Bradley Cooper.
That would be funny to watch.
I'm sure they won't show anything that they're not going to show him paying off the cops so that Jimmy Snuka doesn't get arrested for murdering a girl.
It'll be the difference between what Sacha Baron Cohen's Freddie Mercury was supposed to be, versus what Rami Malek's, and Queen's vision of Freddie.
It'll be a
we
cash grab.
We got to talk about in season 2. We've got to talk about movies that were and then what they became. So like there was like the Queen movie with Sacha Baron Cohen, but then it was Rami Malek. Like some of these, I want to spend some time on that. So that's something that we can table for everyone listening or watching. If you know of a story of a movie that, holy shit, I couldn't imagine that guy.
Well, here's something and this kind of blew my mind. We were talking sort of like the Star Wars reference earlier. Blew my mind is, and I didn't know this, that the reason that Solo was frozen in Empire Strikes Back is because they didn't think he was coming back for Return of the Jedi, because he was doing Raiders of the Lost Ark. So they did that as a way to, if he ain't coming back, that's the end of him. And I was like, I had no idea. And now I'm like, damn, that was...
Chris could dive into that. We also found out this week that George Lucas's wife hates all the new movies.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing. Who cares? Who cares?
Well, she edited the originals. She edited the originals.
Oh,
right, she did.
By the way, and as I know as much as Chris, I know how much you love Rise of Skywalker. Did you see the robot chicken clip that they put out about? I think it's for the upcoming season, where they do a scene between Palpatine and Rey, sort of in parody.
Oh no, I'd like to see that. Oh, no.
Dude, look it up online. It is right up your alley, and it pokes fun at how ridiculous the whole story behind how they did Rise of Skywalker. It was quite fun. I thought of you when I saw that. So.
Nice. Well, it's funny. Like George Lucas. That thing about George Lucas's wife, though, it's like, who cares? Like, honestly, is that like a huge her opinion? Is that going to change everybody's view on those movies or something? I don't get that. I don't get why.
Funny though, she made some points that you made.
Well, yeah, but as a whole, the story, I know the movie, he's not good with female dialogue. I get that. But as a whole, the story works. You know what I mean? Like, as a whole, the story works, which I enjoy. I thought that was great. And I love the way they brought Vader up in those. That was pretty good. But the better news is that my favorite Jedi of all time is coming out soon with his own series. And I can't wait to see that, because apparently it's going to be really good. So
yeah. Larry Vader,
cable guy,
Larry Vader.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite? Go.
Obi-Wan. I just said it.
Yeah, well, that's coming out. I mean, that's going to be that. We got to be close to getting a trailer for that.
Yeah, the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, he just said the filming is wrapped up for it. Yeah. So Obi-Wan will be coming out in there, and it's nothing like the movies, he says. Which a different take on it will be great as well. But we're gonna get to see some backstories on Obi-Wan, which is spectacular. Yeah. There's a lot of these. Again, they're going on in the comic books. What Mike was mentioning about Han Solo being in carbonite. They got this whole story of the War of the Bounty Hunters, where it wasn't from point A to point B with Han Solo. What a great story. The bounty hunters all steal, like some bounty hunters get a hold of a Han Solo at one point. At one point, the Darth Vader steps in. Oh, the storyline is fantastic. That could have been a really good movie in itself, is what happened with Han Solo from point A to point B to getting a Jabba the Hutt. Really good storytelling. Some of these comics.
Him building houses.
It's like a space age version of Weekend at Bernie's. They keep toting around frozen Han.
Well, so the cool thing is, it goes back to, remember when Buddy got his head cut off there?
Yeah.
Django got his head cut off, and Boba watched, right?
Yeah.
So there's a scene where Boba Fett has to go back to that big area with the the contest going on. So he has to enter in there and to make up some money to get back on the road or whatever he's doing. And everybody takes out is a decapitation. And the guy who's hosting goes, "Hey, our newcomer sure does like decapitations."
Gee,
and just all builds back to that same storyline. Yeah. So I'm diving into too much nerd stuff. You guys go back to the assaults.
No, we're talking.
That's okay.
I can't wait. There's so much Star Wars stuff coming.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Obi-Wan and the Book of Boba Fett. Early word is that it is going to rock. So, and I don't know if you heard this, but apparently it was in the news that Jon Favreau is pushing back a little bit against Disney now. That he's basically telling them to, like, hey, step off. Let me handle the Mandalorian and the Star Wars stuff going forward. Like, don't. I think some cooks are getting in the kitchen, which is ironic because Favreau's such a great chef. And I think there's a little bit of worry that that Disney is possibly starting to, I don't know, make their opinions a little more known and putting a little pressure on things. So we may get Jar Jar Binks. I don't know if there's a good merchandising opportunity. But there's the upcoming Disney stuff looks great for the Star Wars stuff. And did you guys touch on Marvel at all before I hopped on?
Not yet. I mean, Chris, we talked a little bit last week, or whenever, like about a week and a half ago, whenever we were about Shang-Chi and stuff like that. And then, of course, we had a brief discussion at the beginning about how Batman would annihilate Spider-Man, which made me happy. I was just going to
say, Chris, have you been?
I was just trying to get off the politics to bring up the Spider-Man and Batman. That's the only reason I brought that up.
Have you been enjoying What If?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. The comic book's awesome. I did a deep dive into one of my videos there. But yeah, the What Ifs is a whole thing too, where if I start talking about it, it's gonna. Yeah. It's altered timelines. It's so in-depth nerdism in that that's like a Chris's Comics.
I've been very. Sure. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. Mm-hmm. I mean, the concept is kind of neat, and I got the sense that it was sort of filler between, Hawkeye and Loki.
Right.
But I've really, I'm impressed not only that. They got a good amount of the real actors to do the voice parts. I thought it was great that they had Chadwick Boseman in his 2 episodes.
I haven't seen it. Is that on Disney?
This is on Disney Plus, yeah.
I don't know what's going on in the world. I don't know what's going on.
The stories have been really well thought out, and it kind of made me sort of go back to that. To the original comics and how they've sort of portrayed some of these stories, and it's been a surprise for me. Like I'm actually it's required Wednesday watching now when the new episodes come out. So
I guess I got some catching up to do.
Yeah, it's really good.
Chris, what are you most excited about this fall? I mean, we got
Venom's coming out very soon. That looks great. It's gonna be a nice short movie, in and out, hour and a half. Venom looks great. Looks fantastic. Yeah. Eternals, as I mentioned, that's a sleeper. That's going to trigger so many comic book sales that people are missing out on right now. That Eternal series is sweet. Plus, the Eternals is going to open up so many more. Like, you're going to get the beginning of Thanos from all that and the motivation behind him, which is great because he's a super great character with all kinds of layers. You see him, and he's like, oh, he's just an evil guy, and he just had a great idea as a scientist. No, there's a lot more to that. His whole species, his whole planet of people, his race, I guess, if you want to call them, the whole deal behind them is super entertaining and sheds a lot of light on why he was motivated to do what he wanted to do. There's a lot of worshiping in his mind too of false gods, that they will get into, because that's what the Eternals is all about. Is about the gods that created the Marvel universe. Yeah, those great big ones that came down, and they showed them in when they were explaining the rings. I believe it was in Doctor Strange, when Wong was explaining what all the different gemstones did, right? And then they showed the Master Eternals coming in off the beginning there and wiping everything out. So the cool thing about this is this has that take of the ancient alien theory of how they came in and started this, the planets or the humans. Mm-hmm. To evolve us a bit. So it's the same kind of superhero story, but it's going to go way back into the beginning of things. Now, the other thing that I like about this is all Jack Kirby. So Stan Lee, if somebody says Stan Lee created the Eternals, they don't know what they're talking about. This is one of those cases that it's all Jack Kirby, which is great. Like you give Jack some, so his family will get some kickbacks on this. But Eternals is the sleeper hit, and Venom's going to be the fun ride. So far, from what I heard, of course, Spider-Man's going to be the end all be all, right? Like that's just going to be.
When do we
insanity.
see? When do we
That's
see
gonna be great.
new? When do we see Obi-Wan?
I'm not sure. I just heard they wrapped up the filming of it, which will be fantastic.
And Wanda got shut out at the Emmys, and that'll be done. So I'm
It
curious.
won some production. It won some production.
Yeah, well, production,
awards.
as they say.
That's great. That was
Whatever. But they're gonna go. We got the boys coming up. We got the Mandalorian coming up, and then
We've got
does
Hawkeye as well is coming up.
Yeah, does the Mandalorian lead into Boba, or does it lead into Obi-Wan? Because I got to think they're going to put Boba out after the Mandalorian, maybe, or maybe they're going to put it out before.
Well, filming wise, they started Boba Fett before they've started the Mandalorian, so I think it's going to go Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, Mandalorian. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Interesting.
But the Obi-Wan's going to be fantastic. Again, the Obi-Wan's going to have lots of little Easter eggs and lots of information that I love to see. Just those moments where, like, oh my God, there it is. There it is, and then I'll figure some things out. I'm interested to just see how he lived with his hut and everything.
Do you think, Chris? Do you think they're going to go? This would be interesting because everyone seemed to want Rey to be Obi-Wan's daughter. So do you think they're gonna mess around with those movies and maybe slide her, like he had a daughter,
retconning stuff?
Like he had a daughter and then she was shipped out and her name was Rey, but then I don't. Do you think they're gonna fix that at all? I think. What do we think?
I can't hear anything anymore.
I think they're gonna let Rise of Skywalker.
I can't hear a thing.
Uh oh. We've lost Chris.
Sorry guys, carry on. I don't know.
All right.
Oh, it's the speakers. It's your things. It's your pull them out and put them back in. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna send him a private chat.
Send him a private chat. I was just gonna say I don't think they're going to touch Rise of Skywalker. I think at this point now it is what it is. It's out there. It's like trying to fix Last Jedi. I think they just move forward. And you may get the odd thing here and there that will slightly alter the view of those 3 sequel films, but nothing to the extent where it's going to change the fact that Rey, surprise, she wasn't really the Emperor's daughter. She was actually Obi-Wan's daughter, but it was all a big plan that the Emperor had set up. No, I think they're going to try to get away from that and just sort of focus on new stories, new stories that tie into sort of the bigger picture of Obi-Wan. And yeah, like Chris was saying, I think it's gonna be cool to see the backstory. And Ewan McGregor he's so psyched about it, it's kind of cool because you talk to a lot of the actors that were in the Star Wars films, and a lot of them they say it was a nice time, but none of them really sort of have the passion or the desire to go back. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think Ewan McGregor, he's all in, and except for
the original Obi-Wan, Al Guinness, who was like, "What is this? What is this little movie?" And then all of a sudden he's like, "Shit, 2%.
This is great.
I'll be back. What do you need? Yeah, what do you need?"
So that's why I think it'll be cool to see having both him and Hayden Christensen amped to get back into it. And I think this is, credit to Favreau and Filoni for what they've done so far with Mandalorian and how they've almost revitalized, the interest in Star Wars, especially amongst actors. So definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, it's going to be a really good couple of months for both TV and film. I don't know about you, Brent, but in our household, begrudgingly, there's a certain girl who is super, super psyched to go see Dear Evan Hansen coming up.
I wouldn't know. I haven't been home in weeks, so I don't know what anyone's excited about. I'm just focused on my daughter being able to walk after her broken leg, and then all the rest of it. So, but I'm hearing that movie's everyone's gonna cry for days. So we'll see.
Yeah, but
whatever.
But it's Ben Platt is a high schooler. Although speaking of CGI,
well, it's no different than Judd Nelson or Emilio Estevez, who were 30 at that time.
But I don't know if this is true or not, that they're actually going to de-age him for the streamed versions of Dear Evan Hansen when it comes out on the streaming platforms that they're using the CGI to de-age
I'm
Ben
trying to think
Platt.
how I feel about just the de-aging. I watched The Irishman and was like, it was distracting more than it was anything, because I'm like, you can de-age De Niro, but if he can't walk, you're not. It's like if he can't, like, you see him walking on a cliff or at the edge of the water, and he's kind of walking like a 75-year-old man would walk on rocks near water, but he's supposed to be 45 years old, and I'm like,
Hey,
yeah.
there are
Anyways.
days where I feel like a 70-year-old man when I'm walking. So,
Michael, where can people find you online? I'll either wrap this or I'll go on about some other stuff.
It's too
And
bad that Chris, we've lost him.
We'll get him back. We'll probably get him back, but I'll wrap up with him and then we'll go from there.
At MP Voiceovers on the Twitter and on the Instagram, and then mpvoiceovers.com. And, you catch me on TVs and such. I'll tell you, over the summer, man, I got very used to saying Dr. Death Saturdays on Showtime.
You're like all over the place on that side of it. It's great. I'll
it's
have
good
you on.
time.
I got there's a motorcycle driving down there. There we go.
Where are you?
I'm in St. Louis. I'm in St. Louis.
Wow.
Yeah. Speaking of Owen Hart, wasn't it here? At Kemper?
Is it Kansas? Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back any. We're going to season
man.
2 starting very shortly
I'm excited to get all nerded
discussed.
out again. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
It's coming back.
And hockey season is happening. And I was going to say to Chris, I was excited. I got my episode or my issue 2 of Skeletron in the mail the other day. So I was very excited. So it is
Which
now.
is that
sitting
one
up on
right
the
there?
mantle.
There we go.
Yes. That boy's uber talented. That's very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So. Anyway, Brent, and enjoy your time in St. Louis, and this Saturday.
I will do.
This Saturday, I think it is the 22nd. Leafs and Habs. I think.
I really, when I tour, Mike, I have no idea what's going on in the world.
Buddy,
if I don't see it, like when I'm home and there's a little bit more time, A, I'm not gonna be able to watch it down here. B, it's like trying to figure out like where I'm at half the time. I just got off 3 in a row. I've got about 9 hours sleep. I literally I'm a good nap guy if I want to. I literally today had plans running around and doing saying I did run the Rocky Steps the other day. There we go.
I saw that. That was very cool, man.
I wanted to do some running and stuff today, and at like 3 o'clock I was like, no. Because I had about 9 hours sleep in 3 days. So anyways, to know what's going on in the world outside of what's coming into my phone and all the rest of it. Yeah. But we'll get you back soon, and I'll get you on the Brenton On Tour podcast. It's launching up here pretty soon.
Oh, good, man. Well, enjoy your time, and bye, Chris and Lonnie, wherever you
We'll
are.
see him back in a minute. Yeah.
We'll see you guys soon. All right.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Peace out, boys.
See you in a while. So, Chris Machete, my good buddy, is foiled by technology right now. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to see what we can do here. See if we can get him back. Looks like they lost the internet over there. So, Kids on the Escalator Podcast, Season 2 firing up again here shortly. The preview shows, as we discussed as we're going through this, just kind of touching on some of the stuff that we want to talk about. Halloween's a great time to launch. I'm going to be in Ontario in October, so I'm going to be close to Chris's place. We're actually going to go and do this live in person at his place. So that'll be the launch of Season 2, and we're going to talk all the things. We'll be there and get all of our guests in and come out swinging as best we can, and obviously we're going to cover the launch of Season 2 of The Boys coming again. We're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. There's so much. This is like the perfect season for a nerd show. You've got all these shows starting. You've got The Mandalorian. You've got all the things that we touched on, Obi-Wan. We've got all these things coming up that we love to talk about, and nerds unite around to talk about. So pretty stoked about that, which we'll get into. Lots of wrestling talk. We're going to hopefully get some pretty big guests this year. I've got some people lined up. As I said, I just talked to my buddy Craig Gass. He's actually at Guns N' Roses tonight in Minneapolis, but we just got a chance to hang out the other day in New York City on September 11th, and that was awesome. Really a funny comedian. You should check him out. Does an amazing Gene Simmons. Check him out from Howard Stern. If you check out the Howard Stern show and go online and check out the YouTube clips of Craig doing the Gene Simmons thing, it's pretty funny. And he was also part of the roast of Gene Simmons. And really, that was, I think, what broke him wide open. So we're going to get him on the show, hoping to get some wrestling buddies on the show that we have. I'm going to lean on Mike a little bit to see if we can get Jimmy Corderas, the referee, who we tried to get for season 1 last year, but we'll try to get him this year. There's lots of stuff kind of coming up. It's the classic, like, been through the first season, try to work out some of the kinks, and then, do the next thing, which is, build the show into a bigger thing. And, I'm just going to send them. I'm just sending them a note to say, hey, I'm still here hanging out. but we really appreciate you guys tuning in a lot to the show and helping us build it on the Dean Blundell Network. And huge thanks to those guys as well. Obviously, you can follow us over on the Twitter if we can get everybody to join us over there on Twitter and on YouTube. We want you on YouTube. Come join us over there. Kids on the Escalator on YouTube. We're rebuilding the page, and we're going to come out with a whole bunch of micro content very, very soon. So come on over. Come and hang out. Come and check us out. I believe we're going to stay on Tuesday nights, but as I tour, and I'm actually back on tour and starting to do more shows around this fine planet at our, my schedule can be a little whack. As I said today, I'm in St. Louis. The other day I was in Ohio for the show. It's just kind of like where I'm going to be. I kind of look at the schedule and go, yeah, all right, I'll go. I think I can jump on, and we might have some guest hosts. We might do a few things, but there's a few kind of things happening. Kim is stoked for season 2, and Kim, we're stoked to have you on season 2. We're going to bring some fans into the mix and bring you in for an episode or two, just to get your opinion on your favorite movies and some stuff like that. Lots of interaction. We're going to have a segment about Chris's, I'm sorry, Kim, I hit your Cosby thing in there, but the Chris's comics. We're going to basically get into a deep dive into Chris's collection, which is monstrous collection. Something that I can't even compare it to on that side of it. But he's got so many cool stuff. You can check Chris out on TikTok and his daily random pick from his comic book collection. It's amazing to watch. Like, you just pull something out, and I'm sure he could just pull something out, and then it would just how do I explain it? It would just be able to talk about it for like 2 hours, because Chris can dive into that stuff. And that's the thing I love about this show, is that Chris can deep dive hard into this stuff, and I consider myself a casual fan. I'm a Superman fan, but and a Batman fan and a DC fan, as you guys know. And Chris is the Marvel kind of guy, and also very much schooled in every single comic ever made, which is not me. Chris will be like, oh, that guy appeared in this, and I'm like, no idea. I had no idea that happened. So it's amazing. It's amazing. I know that my personal kind of thing of those shows is when you can deep dive into that stuff and have somebody that can break things down like Chris can when it comes to comics, and Thanos appeared here, and Daredevil this, and like, just when he dives so far into the deep dive of the comic world, it really is quite something to see, because I can only really do that on 80s hair metal bands and some of those albums, and I'm a big movie buff, so I can dive into some pretty hardcore movie stuff, but even Chris is trumping me in that regard. He's deep diving into the Stanley Kubrick side, and that's pretty funny. He's breaking down The Shining the way I love the way I can break down The Sopranos or Seinfeld or something. So yeah, it's great. Ryan says, we need to make sure you're on the air when Saints of Newark drop. I don't care where you are. Ryan, listen to me. I'll be in the movie theater when that thing drops. I think I'm going to be still on tour when that comes out. But the reviews are starting to come out. I'm trying to stay away from them, but I can't wait for that side of it. It's going to be. I'm really excited for that. Many Saints of Newark is such a such a rad idea. Basically the what do you call it? The origin of Tony Soprano and all the rest of it. I mean, come on. Well, sorry, it's actually about Christopher Moltisanti and Dickie Moltisanti, and his dad and stuff like that. So, and Tony's, and James Gandolfini's kid is playing Tony. So, how rad is that? Really cool. But yeah. Anyways, so cool stuff ahead. We lost Chris. Chris had some technical difficulties. Thanks to Mike for jumping on. Kids on the Escalator podcast for this week. Just a preview show coming up here, and we got basically first week of October. So maybe next week or a week after. I think whenever. I don't even know what day of the week it is. 21st. So like a couple weeks, we're going to launch season 2. So join us on the Dean Blundell Network and all the rest of it. Huge thanks to Lonnie, our friend and producer, and for putting this together for our friends at Blue Microphones. Big thanks to them. Big thanks to Dean Blundell Network, Dean Blundell Network, the Dean Blundell Network, for having us and hosting us. And many thanks to all you guys for tuning in. Again, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, at all the places. We want to come out hard this year. And Kim, hey, we love you too. Thank you very much. Everybody, check out Chris Machete's. You can buy Chris Machete's comic. Make sure you do that. Skeletron, Follow Me to Hell. Look at that. Sensational second issue. You can buy it on Etsy. I'm going to bring that up for you right now. So check that out. It's Shop at the Machete Comics at Etsy store. I believe he's only got a handful of copies left. He's sold out of episode 1 or season. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Season 1, episode 1, issue 1, and I believe he's almost sold out of issue 2. So there's only a handful left. So make sure you catch that when you can. And then number 3 is on the way very, very soon. So I'm very excited about that. So thanks, everybody. That has been a preview show of the Kids on the Escalator podcast. We will see you guys very, very soon. Bye.